Humans have always looked to the heavens and the earth for answers. We have built monuments, created symbols, and performed rituals for millennia. This quest for meaning has given rise to the world's great religions. Among them, Hinduism is often called the world's oldest living faith. Its traditions stretch back thousands of years. Its roots are traced to the ancient Indus Valley and the sacred texts known as the Vedas. These texts are thought to have been composed as early as 1500 BCE, making Hinduism incredibly ancient. This long, unbroken history is a remarkable testament to human culture and spirituality. But what if the story of religion is even older? What if the first whispers of belief began long before the first words of the Vedas were ever chanted? Archaeologists have been digging into the deep past. They are uncovering sites that challenge our understanding of when and how religion began. These discoveries push the timeline of organized ritual back further than we ever imagined. They reveal that complex societies, with rich symbolic lives, existed in a time we once considered primitive. This raises a fascinating question. Could the core ideas of Hinduism have roots in these even more ancient cultures? Some have wondered if there is a direct line connecting these primeval sites to the traditions of Sanatan Dharma, the eternal way of Hinduism. The idea is captivating. It suggests a single ancient source for all human spirituality. Perhaps symbols found carved in stone in faraway lands are early expressions of concepts later refined in Hindu thought. Could the rituals of ancient Mesopotamia or the monumental structures of prehistoric Anatolia be the very first seeds from which later religions, including Hinduism, grew? To explore this, we must travel back in time, to places that were thriving long before recorded history. Our journey takes us to the dusty landscapes of modern-day Turkey and the fertile plains of ancient Mesopotamia. Here, archaeologists have unearthed evidence that is rewriting the first chapter of human civilization. They have found temples built by hunter-gatherers and tombs filled with strange sacrificial animals. These discoveries are not just about old stones and bones. They are windows into the minds of our distant ancestors. By examining what they left behind, we can begin to piece together the origins of ritual, belief, and the profound human need to connect with something greater than ourselves. In the rolling hills of southeastern Turkey, a truly astonishing discovery was made. It is a place called Göbekli Tepe. This is not just an old settlement, it is considered the world's oldest known temple. The site dates back to around 9600 BCE, which is more than 11,500 years ago. This is a staggering age. It is thousands of years older than Stonehenge and the pyramids of Egypt. It predates the invention of writing, pottery, and even agriculture. The people who built this incredible place were not farmers living in settled villages. They were hunter-gatherers, moving across the land in search of food. What the archaeologists found here was revolutionary. They uncovered massive circular enclosures. At the center of these enclosures stand enormous T-shaped pillars made of limestone. Some of these pillars are over 5 meters tall and weigh many tons. What makes them so special are the intricate carvings that cover their surfaces. There are images of dangerous wild animals, lions, boars, foxes, and snakes. There are also birds like vultures and cranes and strange abstract symbols. These were not simple decorations. They were clearly part of a complex symbolic system, a language of belief we are only just beginning to understand. The purpose of Göbekli Tepe was almost certainly ritualistic. It was a sacred meeting place, a center for ceremonies. The sheer effort required to build it tells us that it was profoundly important to these ancient people. They had to quarry the giant stones, transport them without wheels or domesticated animals, and carve them with simple flint tools. This suggests a highly organized society, brought together by a shared faith. Experts believe the pillars may represent stylized human figures, perhaps ancestors or gods, watching over the rituals that took place here. These rituals might have involved feasting and possibly even funerary practices. When we compare Göbekli Tepe to the origins of Hinduism, we see a vast gap in time. The earliest elements of Hinduism are typically dated to the 2nd millennium BCE. Göbekli Tepe is at least 6,000 years older than that. While both involve sacred spaces and powerful symbolism, there is no direct evidence to connect the two. The animal carvings and T-shaped pillars of Göbekli Tepe do not match the known symbols of early Hinduism, such as the swastika or the Om symbol. Experts have found no link between the beliefs of these hunter-gatherers and the later development of Vedic traditions in South Asia. Now let us travel south to the land between the rivers, Mesopotamia. This region, in modern-day Syria and Iraq, is often called the cradle of civilization. Here, around 4,300 years ago, powerful city-states flourished. Archaeologists excavating a royal tomb complex at a site called El Mara in Syria uncovered fascinating evidence of elaborate rituals. They found the skeletons of animals buried with great care alongside valuable goods. These were not ordinary animals. They were a special hybrid, a cross between a domestic donkey and a Syrian wild ass. These creatures were known as kungas. These kungas were highly prized and very expensive, sometimes costing 6 times more than a donkey. They were symbols of power and prestige, often used to pull the war wagons of kings and given as part of royal dowries. The discovery in the tomb shows that they were also used in important rituals, likely as sacrifices to accompany the elite into the afterlife. The burial shows a sophisticated understanding of animal breeding and a deep symbolic connection between animals and power. This practice of ritual sacrifice and the use of specific animals for religious purposes is a common thread in many ancient cultures around the world. The rituals of ancient Mesopotamia were complex and deeply embedded in their society. They had temples, a pantheon of gods and goddesses, and a priestly class that performed ceremonies to ensure the favor of these deities. They used symbols, such as the Star of Ishtar or the winged disc of Asher, to represent their divine powers. These practices and symbols were unique to their culture and their time. They developed within the specific context of Mesopotamian civilization, shaped by their environment, their politics, and their unique worldview. These traditions powerfully influenced neighboring cultures across the Near East for centuries. When we look for connections to Hinduism, we again find that the evidence points to separate origins. The burial of kungas in Syria happened around 2300 BCE. This is closer in time to the early Vedic period in India, but the cultures were geographically and symbolically distinct. The gods worshipped in Mesopotamia, like Enlil and Marduk, are entirely different from the Vedic deities like Indra and Agni. While both cultures valued animals and used them in rituals, the specific animals and the meanings attached to them were not the same. Experts have found no archaeological evidence to suggest that Hindu practices were present in Mesopotamia, or that Mesopotamian rituals were the root of Hindu traditions. The discoveries at Göbekli Tepe and in Mesopotamia paint a vivid picture of our ancient past. They show us that the impulse to create sacred spaces and perform rituals is incredibly old. It is a fundamental part of the human story. Long before the rise of the world's modern religions, people were already gathering to express a shared understanding of the cosmos. They used the tools and symbols available to them, stone, animals, and the landscape itself, to give meaning to their lives and to connect with forces they felt were greater than themselves. This drive for belief seems to be a universal human trait. What these archaeological sites do not show, however, is a single origin point for all religion. There is no evidence to support the idea that Hinduism or any other single faith was the root from which all others grew. Instead, the findings suggest that ritualistic and religious behaviors emerged independently in different parts of the world. The hunter-gatherers of Anatolia developed their unique symbolic world at Göbekli Tepe. The city dwellers of Mesopotamia created their own complex pantheon and rituals. And in South Asia, the ancestors of modern Hindus developed their own profound philosophical and spiritual traditions. Experts and archaeologists are clear on this point. While it is fascinating to look for ancient connections, there are no proven links between the symbols and practices at Göbekli Tepe or in Mesopotamia and those of Hinduism. The timelines, geography, and cultural artifacts simply do not align. Hinduism's roots are firmly planted in the Indian subcontinent, with a distinct history and development. The faith's incredible depth and longevity stand on their own, without needing a connection to these even older sites. The lack of a link does not diminish any religion, it simply enriches our understanding of the human journey. In the end, the question of the oldest religion may be less important than the story the evidence tells us. It is a story of parallel evolution. It shows that humanity, in different corners of the globe, independently reached for the divine. From the stone pillars of Turkey to the riverbanks of India, we see a shared human quest to understand our place in the universe. Rather than a single tree of religion with one ancient root, it seems there is a whole forest, with many roots stretching deep into the soil of our shared human consciousness. Each tradition is a unique and precious expression of that ancient, enduring search for meaning.